Hello, internet friends. So I cleaned up the top cover of the Prolinia enough that I won't get AIDS just from touching it, and put it back on. So we're going to do some other stuff for a little bit. I think in the future anyway. I think that this motherboard that's in this thing takes the cache on a stick modules. I ordered one, a 256K module. The part number listed in the compact book for the Prolinia is not the right cache RAM. The one that's listed ends up being some kind of thing that has a couple of female pin headers on it that plugs down on something that's not on this board, but it does have one of those coast slots. Hopefully it's the right kind. It is a compact module, but it's for a later series of computer. I don't know, it may be a 3.3 volt module, maybe it'll still work in this thing, maybe all the coast modules are 3.3 volts, I don't know. I guess if it blows up, we'll see, but yeah, I don't know when it'll get here. But if we add that L2 cache to this thing, that should speed things up a good bit. And also, I ordered a 486 DX4100 CPU to put into this thing. I think that's the safest thing to try. If that works and we end up using the machine a good bit, I may eventually try to get one of those Pentium overdrive CPUs that plug into a 486 socket. I think they're a 486 DX4100 is probably about equivalent to a Pentium 60, and I think those Pentium overdrives for the 486 run at like 83 megahertz or something funny like that. So I guess that would be a non-trivial upgrade from the equivalent of a Pentium 60, I guess, right? Anyway, that's stuff for the future, though. I thought that since we have Slackware running well on this thing now, we actually have a working Unix box, a working old Unix box, other than the machine downstairs, because I did get my bamboo box for extending the Pt.3, but it's not right. It's skinnier. It's not a 2-inch box. I'm 90% sure, 99% sure that I ordered the one that was recommended on the Pt.3 Google group, but this is what I got from Amazon. It's what shipped to me, but it's a little bit too wide. It's the right height, but it's not deep enough, and it's a little bit too wide, so it won't mate up with this one right. So I guess I'll just have to get another one. It's not worth trying to return the thing. It wasn't very expensive. It'd be more of a pain in the butt than it's worth, so that's on hold yet for now, but we do have the Slackware box, so I thought maybe we'd try plugging a serial terminal into it. And of course this thing has DB9 serial ports, but I've got a little DB9 to DB25 dongle plugged in back there. And somewhere around here I have a null modem cable. We'll set this thing up to run Getty on a serial port, and we'll see if we can log into it with the Zenith terminal, which we'll also have to configure via the dip switches, so that'll be interesting too. So, let's do it. Alright, let's see. This is the file where we enable Getty from. This is a table of services that init runs and keeps restarting whenever they die. If we go down here and look around a little bit, this is where it runs the login processes on the virtual terminals, the VTs you can switch between with Alt and the arrow keys. It's running them, and then there's some shit commented out down here where we can run one on serial lines. So we've got 2 serial ports. I think my dongle is plugged into serial port 1, so I'm just going to make a copy of that line and uncomment it. And we are going to be running it at 9600 baud, but I think we want to run it in VT52 mode rather than VT100 mode. Because I believe that's what the Z-19 is compatible with. And then we can write that file and we can restart in it. And then Getty should be running on the serial port. Well, it reread in it tab. It didn't say anything about not being able to run Getty on the serial port. So hopefully that's working. All right, let's configure the terminal now. I've got the top off, and I'm going to leave the top off until we get it configured properly. Maybe we should actually plug in a serial cable, though. That would help if we want it to be connected to the computer. This is just a big, long null modem cable made out of Category 5 cable. I think that's the cheapest, easiest way to make them. Alright, let's see, where's the port? Gotta find somewhere to put the manual now. Rage. Hang on a second. See if I can break something. I believe we are plugged. All right, 9600 baud is on S401. That's right here. It's the 0 through 3 switches. It's off, off, on, which it's set to. Okay. Parity is on switch 4. We don't want parity. Okay. Number 5 selects odd or even parity, which doesn't matter. 6 selects normal parity or stick parity. It's set to normal. 7 selects between half duplex and full duplex. It's set to full duplex. So that is all correct. Okay, now over here on switch 402, the first one selects between an underscore or a block cursor. It's set to an underscore. The second one turns the key click on and off, which is annoying, so we're going to turn that. Now wait a minute, it says it's turned off, but I can hear a key click. Well, let's try turning it on and see what happens. Okay. Switch 2 turns on wrap or discard. It's set to wrap. Switch 3 sets auto line feed, which is off. We may have to mess with these later. Switch 4 sets auto carriage return, which is off. Switch 5 switches between Zenith mode and ANSI, aka VT52 mode. That's switch 6, no, that's switch 5. We need to have this in VT52 mode. Okay. 6 selects whether the keypad acts as a keypad or arrow keys and control keys. It's set to be shifted. Okay. Then 7 switches between 60 and 50 hertz refresh. It's set to 60, which is proper for the United States, I think. Okay. Well, it's set up. Let's see what happens. No login prompt. I went ahead and turned on Getty on both serial ports while the camera was off too, because I wasn't sure I had it plugged into the right one. So, Alright, well, I'm getting nothing on the other serial port either. So I guess next we ought to see if we've got any data on this serial port. Let's see here. Let's find my probe. Turn on the old scope here. Don't have the shield hooked up. A couple of cheap wires here. I'll be able to get a ground on pin 1 right here. I hope that's reaching in there alright. Now let's see. I can't hardly get in there either. Let me just get a male Pt.3 connector out here and plug it into this end of the cable, and then I can clamp onto the doohickeys. There we go. Alright. Pin 1 is right here. Ground it. Now let's try pin 2. Hit a key. Oh, we've got something there. Let's turn our volts per division down. It's sending data. That's a very strange slope on that line though. Yeah, it's sending data. So I can confirm that the PC is sending data, and at 5 volts per division it appears to be within RS-232 specification. I've got, so here's, alright, so when I connect the ground of the probe to the frame of the terminal, I seem to get this weird transient voltage on the probe. However, when I hook the probe ground to the signal ground on the DB25 connector, it levels out. And when I touch the frame, it doesn't shock me though, but it's certainly acting like there might be AC leaking in somewhere or something. Now, I don't know what to think. Although I do want to check for AC voltage between the frame and the signal ground, because that's a little bit concerning. I don't know why. I don't know why the thing would act like that. It's pin 5. Okay. Now, I have 51 volts on the frame somehow, between the signal ground and the frame. That is very strange. Very strange indeed. Alright. Let's turn it on. Look at the screen. Do we have a cursor yet? Yes. Okay, let's hit enter and see if... Oh, yeah, boy. Let's put it back together. I think things are working. Considering that strange AC voltage that we were getting on the chassis here, I'm not gonna connect the frame ground on the serial port. I'm just gonna put a piece of heat shrink over this so it can't get up on anything, and then it can just hang out, because the frame ground is unnecessary for the serial protocol to work anyway. If we have to have the shield grounded, we can ground it on the other side. So that ought to do it. Alright, I haven't buttoned it clear up yet. We'll have to make sure that our terminal settings are right, like the carriage return line, feed and wrap and all that stuff. Well, it was working. This connector doesn't really plug in there very well. I know I saw a login screen. Let's restart Getty. There we go. That was peculiar. Yeah, I don't want you to listen to my password. You might guess it. I'll be right back. Well, it won't let me log in as root on the serial console. I'll have to fix that. Now, in person, the screen looks much brighter than it does on the camera, but it looks really washed out on the camera. Mostly, I've got big fluorescent lights shining down on top, and there's a crack in the top here, so there's a bunch of light shining down on the screen. So I've got the brightness turned up for now, so you can see a little better on the camera. But let's run some kind of interactive program and see if all the terminal control stuff looks right. Let's try connecting to localhost. I don't think I'm running an HTTP server on this thing. Unable to connect to remote host. Well, there's some funny stuff going on here. Well, something's wrong with our terminal type. Well, that was exciting. Hang on a minute, I have an idea. It supports the H19/Z19, also the Z29, Z29A, Z39, Z100, and Z100BW. So let's edit Init tab again and change our terminal type to H19, and then we'll have to change the jumper. Let's see, I think I've got the thing plugged into second serial port now. I'll just change them both. Was that Z19 with an underscore, or just, it was H19, but I don't remember if it was H-19 or just H19. Just H19, okay. It's not running, because I'm still logged in over here. I'm going to log out of the serial terminal before, there. Okay, but it's That one's still running in VT52 mode. That process ID is 2437. Let init respawn that. Okay, now they're both running in H19 mode. Let's point you back at this machine. And we got to change that jumper. Where to put the manual? Switch 402 unit 5. Switch 402 unit 5. Okay. Let's see what happens now. Maybe it'll work a little better this way. Da, 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 da. Okay. I don't want you listening to my password. Alright. It let us log in. Let's try running Vim again and see if it works any better. Oh, that looks a lot better. Yes, sir. I can't get out of insert mode though when I hit escape. Oh, I had the button in. Oh, I accidentally hit the offline switch. That's why I couldn't get out of. Never mind, there's nothing wrong. It's right next to escape down here. Right here. The offline switch is right next to escape, and I accidentally hit that instead of escape and disconnected the terminal from the computer for a second. So, no problem. Okay, it looks like this is working. So, let's put the cover back on, and then it'll look a lot better without that glare. Now I tell you, that thing really looks pretty good. I've been using DOS too much lately. Oh, now. Oh, I have directory coloring turned on. That's what's fucked up here. Yeah. I'll have to solve that. Yeah, it's got the terminal all fucked up now. Let me log out and log back in. Hopefully that'll... I have to reset the terminal. Hate to do that. Ah, the joys of serial terminals. So the bash process is actually hung. I'm going to have to kill -9 it. There. Okay. That was very strange. Alright. Oh, wait a minute. I thought that was a Solzhenitsyn quote there. Maybe it's a addition to the Solzhenitsyn quote. It's a great book. I mean, it's not a fun book, but that's a great book. Anywho, there is some way to turn off that color directory listing. So let's see if we can figure out what it is. As you can see, this machine is a bit slow. It is a 486 after all. DX50. Okay. Let's search for color. Alright. Okay. Oop. Up arrow doesn't seem to work. That's kind of a shame. Okay, that's better. $9,600 baud. It's about what you'd expect. There are jumper settings for 19.2, and I think I may be able to get okay, so in a previous video we looked inside of this thing and discovered that it uses an 8250 UART, the same as the PC. And I talked about maybe trying to replace that with a 16550 UART and then changing the serial clock to something else to get higher baud rates out of this terminal. But I lamented the fact that the serial clock and the system clock used the same crystal, so it wasn't possible to re-chip just the serial controller. But I was thinking about it later, and I thought, you know, like a lot of these machines, you know, you'll generate a clock signal, and then you use a series of dividers to derive a bunch of different clock frequencies to run a bunch of different shit. So if I study up on the schematics and figure out where all of those clocks are being generated, considering the age of this thing, they may be just being generated by discrete logic. If that's the case, we can probably tap into one of those other clocks, one that's twice as fast or 4 times as fast, and bend the pin up on the 16550 when we install it, the clock pin, and run a baud wire from there to a different serial clock on the clock divider circuit. And we may be able to get it up to, you know, like 38.4 or something like that, which would be quite respectable and very usable. So that's pretty neat. It's also, you remember when we were trying to adjust the focus on this monitor, it's still a little bit fuzzy here and there, but I left the thing turned on for like 24 hours just to see if the capacitors would kind of heal themselves slowly, and it's not nearly as bad as it was. And I've got the brightness turned up too high so that you can see it better on the camera. It looks a lot different in person, but when I turn the brightness back down to where I would normally use it, that's a little bit too low. Probably about here. Yeah, that's pretty good. The focus is a whole lot better too. So yeah, pretty cool. I'll call this a success. Now, we're not done with this thing though. Let me show you some things. Okay, so I guess I shouldn't complain too much because the machine didn't get destroyed in shipping, but whenever I buy stuff like this, I got this thing off of eBay, and whenever I buy stuff like this, I always attach shipping instructions when I pay, and offer to pay a little more for shipping if I have to, just to make sure the thing gets packed well, because it's very sad when things like this get destroyed in shipping. I'm sure you've seen that previous video about that wonderful, minty ROM 3 Apple IIgs that got absolutely smashed to pieces. Anyway, so I attached shipping instructions for the thing, and the guy threw it in the box with a couple of pieces of foam. It was a very thin box, and the foam, there wasn't foam on all sides. There was some foam in the front, and there was some foam on one side. And the whole thing was wrapped in like saran wrap. It was very strange. And there was no like bubble wrap or anything in there. So it got banged around a good bit in shipping. You can see the box had burst open a couple of places, and it was getting ready to really give up the ghost. But you can see a few places here where the thing got fucked up, and all around down here it's beat up, and there's a place on the side back there that's it's this side. There's some stuff on the side down there that's all messed up, and this is painted plastic here, so the plastic is like mashed to where there is like stuff sticking out where it shouldn't. So I'm going to just have to sand the high places out of it, and then I guess I'll have to get medieval in redneck fashion. I'm going to try to fill the holes after I sand the high places down with Bondo, and once that sets up, I don't think I'll need primer with this stuff. This is really good paint, but this is the closest I could find at Walton's Emporium of sweatshop shit. So it'll have to do. The thing's probably dirty too, so it may be supposed to be lighter than that. But all this gray paint is good. So, but I'll have to repaint the plastic shell part, and I guess this is a metal piece right here, but I guess I'll have to repaint it also to match, which is a little bit concerning because there's this sticker down here that I don't think I can get off without screwing it all up. Maybe I'll just leave that alone. I don't know, but yeah, once we get all those dings out of the thing, and clean the keyboard up good. There's a lot of funky funk down in there that you can see, and get these crappy little thingaroos off of here. I think it'll be a really nice little terminal. Let turn the brightness back up here a little so you can see it on the camera better. I think it'll be a really nice little terminal. And I've got this plan to try to use some analog switch ICs to make some kind of like crossbar serial switch thing, and then I'll plug all of my serial hardware into this serial switch box, and then on the box, using some buttons, I'll be able to talk to a microcontroller to make it like close these switches in a crossbar fashion to kind of like connect any serial equipment that I have up to any other serial equipment that I have. So like if I've got like 4 machines up here running some kind of Unix or something, or the Pt.3 or whatever, like plugged into this box, and then I've got a couple of serial terminals, you know, like I can like say like, oh, today I want to use the Zenith with the Pt.3, and just push a button and it'll connect it with the analog switch ICs. And then maybe tomorrow I want to use the DT1 with the Pt.3, and I'll hit another button and it'll disconnect this one and connect that one, etc. ad nauseum, you know what I'm saying. But yeah, I think I can kind of make it work like a virtual version of like an old telephone crossbar switch. So like there'll be like 1 or 2 or maybe 3 like serial trunk lines, and then 2 devices will connect to that line. So you'll only be able to have like 3 sets of devices connected to each other at a time, right? But you can connect any device to any other device that way, and it won't use a whole crap ton of like ICs and shit. So yeah, I haven't drawn any schematics for that yet though, but I think that'll be interesting. In fact, you know, I wonder if I could burn all of that into like a programmable logic device of some kind, and then that would drastically reduce the number of analog switch ICs I needed. It wouldn't be nearly as interesting as trying to replicate an old telephone crossbar switch, because I'd thought about actually trying to get an old telephone crossbar switch and using it. And then you could like dial in the 2 machines like on a rotary phone dial that you wanted to connect to each other, but no, those things are huge. We used to actually have one in Brandywine when I was a kid that actually ran the phone system. You had to pay extra for touch-tone service because they didn't have enough lines on their newer switch, so most people were still connected to this old crossbar switch from like 1940 or something like that. It was gnarly, great big old thing, and when people dialed in, these things would go ka-chunk, ka-chunk, ka-chunk. It was awesome. Anyway, alright, you all have an awesome evening. I appreciate you joining me, and I will see you next time. Yeah.